Hello ladies and gents, how are you all doing? Ghost here. So today I wanted to discuss the new rear view camera that came out with the September patch. Now I'm sure you've all been busy tinkering around with your HUDs, trying to have jet roll on, turning it off, changing your FOV in jets and all that sort of stuff, tweaking things, trying to get things how you like it and really get used to some of these new changes. But one of the things you may not have gotten used to is the rear view camera. Now I have so many people coming to me asking me, how do you even activate this? Because they see it in my videos, but a lot of people just don't really seem to know how to actually look through the rear view camera itself. So to activate this new camera angle, it's the same as free looking in first person mode, only you do it in third person mode. So if you're playing on PC, you will hold in right click. Now as for controls, I'm not 100% sure what the key or press for this is. I would assume it will be the right thumbstick or perhaps one of the shoulder buttons. In any case, if you know how to free look in first person, I'm going to go ahead and assume that on console, it will be the same button to activate the rear view camera in third person mode. So with that said, what are some of the uses of the rear view camera? Now I will be the first to put my hands up and admit that I do not use the rear view camera anywhere near as much as I should. I just simply forget about it. I forget that it's there. But I really suggest that you guys and myself start using the rear view camera much more. It has untold benefits, many more benefits than I first realized. So first of all, you have the dogfighting aspect of Battlefield 4. As you know, dogfights usually contain a lot of looping around one another, and for probably more than half of the time, you can't actually see the enemy jet. The only thing you have to go by is the air radar. That's what you're staring at most of the time, and really what you're trying to do is switch at an appropriate time to try to outduke your enemy, and try to throw him off so that you can gain an advantage over him. Now the rear view camera is a huge tool in dogfighting now, because when you get to the bottom or the top of a loop and you pass by the enemy jet, you can quickly check in your rear view camera and see if he's switched off to one direction. And if he switches in one direction, you're then able to follow that switch. Now I've been in some servers before fighting with really excellent dogfighters, and I will freely admit guys, I am getting my arse handed to me over there, because these guys are much better than I am for one, but secondly, because they're so used to using the rear view camera. They've been doing it in the CTE for months before this was even released onto the main game, and I simply wasn't doing it at all. It really throws off your game. I know how you guys feel out there. It's kind of like driving a car forwards but having your head turned around and be looking out the rear view mirror. It makes you crash, it makes you go in the wrong direction, and it's also very confusing. If you look in the rear view camera and you see the enemy jet switch to the left from your perspective, that actually means that you need to switch to the right to go and match him, and similarly if he goes to the right, then you have to switch to the left. It's very confusing, it is hard to get used to, but I implore you to try it out and try and get used to it, because it will give you a very large advantage. However, the uses for the rear view camera do not stop there, and I would in fact say that this is the hardest usage, dogfighting, because you are looping around, you're thinking about your speed control, you're trying to maintain a direction or perhaps even switch direction, and using that rear view camera at the same time as doing all of that really throws things off. However, there are lots of other uses for the camera that I have discovered and previously didn't really anticipate. So as you can see in the footage here, I'm basically doing my regular conquest game here. The jet pilots on the enemy team aren't particularly great, they're not really causing me too much trouble, and so I'm able to wreak havoc on the enemy ground forces. Now, what I'm doing with the rear view camera here is essentially checking and assessing the battlefield when I go in for a strafe. So previously, without this camera, you would go in for a strafe, you'd maybe attack a tank, you wouldn't take him out, you'd drop your JDAM, perhaps you wouldn't kill the tank with it and you would just miss, but you wouldn't really have any information as to what was going on afterwards. You know, you'd just come up out of the strafe, you'd be getting a little bit of distance, ready for your next strafe, and unless you wanted to loop round to the side so that you could free look out of the left or the right window in the jet and see, okay, where's that tank? Is he still alive? Is the guy bailed? Is he repairing? You know, what's going on with that guy? Now, you can just pop into the rear view camera. So you can spot targets up, you can see if you attacked a tank, you failed to kill him, has the guy bailed? If you know the guy's bailed, then there's probably little point in actually going in for a second strafe on that tank, and you're not going to waste your time on it. You can even spot targets from this view, so if you're flying away up out of your strafing run, one of your teammates spots up a target behind you, you can actually see that target spotted up. So you can go and get the perfect angle coming in for your next strafe, but at the same time you can be looking through the rear view camera and actually selecting your target and checking out the battlefield much more easier than you can with the free look view. Another great thing you can do is actually seeing where your JDAMs hit. So I'm sure you guys have had similar experiences to me where you drop a JDAM, you feel like it should have hit, it should have been a kill, and it was on target, but for some reason you didn't get one. And you guys know with the JDAMs, you pull up after you've dropped it, and you don't really know what happens after that. You just get a kill, you get a hit, or you don't. Well, now you can actually drop it, pull up, switch to the rear view as soon as you start to pull up, and get to actually see the JDAM before it even hits its target. Those things take so long to actually fall down to the ground that you can actually watch it fall into the ground and see where it hits yourself. So you'll see if you're a little bit off target. Sometimes it will hit the side of a building because they never go vertically down, they always come in from an angle, a little bit like rain. So that's also pretty handy, it just gives me more and more information. And one last one that I can actually think of here off the top of my head is that you can see incoming heat seekers. So how many times have you been locked on by an enemy heat seeker and you turn away from the hot zone, you turn away from the angle where you think the heat seeker is most probable to be coming from, but you really don't have any idea how long it's going to be until it hits you. Maybe you check your cooldown on flares or ECM and it's maybe just 3 or 4 seconds left on the cooldown, so you think, should I start spamming my button for countermeasures in case the heat seeker doesn't actually reach me before I can pop my countermeasures, or is it right next to me? Maybe I'll just end up wasting those countermeasures. So now with the rear view camera, you can look through there and get a rough estimate of how many seconds it's going to be until the missile will actually hit you and make contact. So, is wasting ECM going to be viable there, or should you hold on to it? Now, what's even more important than that is as soon as you start being locked on and somebody fires a missile, if you look through your rear view camera, you're going to be able to see the origin of that missile, so essentially where it's coming from. You can see if it's going to be the AA tank, if it's infantry on the floor with an Igla or a Stinger, if it's an attack boat, whatever, a helicopter. So you're going to know who is paying you that attention, who's trying to kill you and lock you on, and you can make them a higher priority target. So there you have it, guys, just a few uses for the rear view camera that I have found. I will admit, like I said earlier in the video, I could be much better at using this, especially in dogfights, but the more you use it, I think the more it will be locked into your playstyle and you'll find it easier and easier. So if you're somebody who hasn't been using this camera at all simply because you don't like the change, I really recommend giving it a go. So as always, thank you very much for watching the videos. I hope you enjoyed it and found it useful, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.